Well, we got wasn't playoff basketball, what we got was a total implosion. And at the center, that disaster head coach Stephanie White unraveling on the sidelines like the fourth quarter of a telenovela. Now listen, nobody is expecting perfection in the post-season. Emotions run high, mistakes have 10. But this wasn't as a rough game, this was a televised breakdown, one that saw Caitlin Clark, a rookie mind you, having a literally calm or coach down in the middle of a critical stretch. If you're here for the real story and not to filter version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. And when that clip hit social media, boom, instant explosion, because it wasn't as bad optics, it was a full-blown leadership crisis, a coach losing control, a locker room caught in the crossfire, and a generational talent. Clark stand there like, are we so serious right now? Let's be clear, Caitlin clogged in officially march into a post-game press conference demanding anyone's job, but the look she gave, the whisper word courtside, the body language, oh, it spoke, and it screamed, this is not working. And she's right, because what we witnessed was not playoff little coaching, it was panic, poor decisions, emotional chaos. And when your coach is melting down and picking fights with ref while the team is sinking, that's not strategy, that's sabotage. Let's rewind the tape and break this mess down. First quarter, things looked shaky, but manageable. There's room for adjustments. But instead of dialing in and refocusing the team, Stephanie White started unraveling, complaining to refs, screaming across the court, yanking players in and out of the rotation like it's musical chairs. Zero rhythm, zero structure. Meanwhile, Caitlin out here trying to run the floor, calling for picks, making reads in what's happening. Boston is Dan in a corner like you forgot she's an all-star, and poor Kika Timpson is glued to the bench like or jerseys made of Velcro. And then there's Natasha Howard, don't get it twisted, she's a vet with talent. But she was struggling, missing shots, getting cooked on defense, picking up bad fouls. And what is why do leaves are in for way too long? Where's the adjustment? Where's the accountability? Nowhere. Just more yelling, more chaos. And then it happens, Stephanie White snaps. Full-on sideline meltdown, throws her hands up, screams at the refs, gets hit with a technical foul. And just like that, whatever momentum the Fever had is gone, poof, vanished. And you know who steps in to de-escalate the situation? Not an assistant coach, not the veterans. It's Caitlin Clark, barely out of college. She literally has to walk over and calm her head coach down. That's not leadership, that babysitting. The cameras catch it, the internet catches fire. And suddenly the focus of the game is, and on basketball anymore, it's on drama. Clark frustration is palpable, her teammates look lost, the offense non-existent, the defense laughable, and coaching staff spiraling. Let's be honest, this wasn't just a bad game, this was the kind of performance that get people fired, because if you can't keep her composure in the playoffs, if you can't manage rotation, control the locker room, or at the very least avoid a technical foul, you don't belong on the sidelines, full stop. And the players know it. You think Clark, who'd spent 4 years and I were executing high-level discipline coach basketball, is going to sit there and nod along? Our team gets steamrolled and our coach come by just like a cheap firework? Absolutely not. This isn't college anymore. There's no protective bubble, no grace period. When you're the face of a franchise and Clark is, you're expected to win, to compete, to rise. But how can you do that when your coach is dragging the whole team down with her? Let's talk about the actual X as an OS, or the lack of them. KK Timpson, when the most athletic and promising rookies on roster, barely sees the court. No explanation, no foul trouble, just benched. Meanwhile, the office is moving slower than a dial-up connection, and the spacing is so bad it looks like they're running pickup ball at the YMCA. And Aaliyah Boston, she touches the ball maybe twice in the second half, 2 times. Your franchise enter, your number 1 pick, your paint beast, sitting there waiting for a play that never comes. What kind of system is this? Oh, right, is not us system, it's a disaster. And don't get started on the timeouts, because when things go south, most coaches rally their team, regroup, adjust. The Stephanie White, she there burned them too early or didn't use him at all, just stood there fuming, barking at refs while team fell apart possession by possession. By the fourth quarter, the players looked like they were trying to coach themselves. Kelsey Mitchell, who by the way dropped 27 points, is out there giving more direction, and the woman with the clipboard, you could see it, the disconnect, the doubt, the frustration. And then as the game clock ticked down and blow-up became inevitable, the energy shifted. Clark said in the bench towel, wow, around her neck, staring out like she was already in the off-season. The look wasn't just defeat, it was disillusionment. because how you build a championship culture when the foundation is already cracked. And listen, fans, to Twitter lit up analysts called it out. Former players whisper what everyone was already thinking: this team isn't losing because of talent, they're losing because of coaching. So when the whisper started that Caitlin Clark was done with Stephanie White, that she wanted change, that she was calling for new direction, honestly no one was shocked, because whether she said outright, not her actions, it loud and clear: we need a new voice in his locker room. And now the front office is in a clock, because here's the uncomfortable truth. If you, the Indiana Fever, your entire future's tied Caitlin Clark, your brand, your revenue, your growth. She's not just a player, she's your business model. And if he's publicly frustrated, if she's making it known that his coaching situation is unacceptable, you have a choice to make: back to coach and risk alienating your star, or back your star and start looking for a moving company for Stephanie White. And if you ask the fans, the decision's already been made. They want results, they want composure, they want coaching that matches the ambition of players, not tantrums, not chaos, not wasted potential, because right now Indiana has a pieces: Boston, Clark, Mitchell, young talent, depth, all the ingredients, but in the wrong hands, even the best ingredients boil. So what's next? Well, if this play a disaster didn't open eyes, nothing will, because you can't hide from this one. Not behind excuses, not behind referee complaints, not behind bad shooting nights. This was a full-on system failure. And when systems fail, you either rebuild or collapse. Caitlin Clark is here to win, not in 3 years now. And if the Fever aren't ready to meet that moment, she's not going to wait around forever. The clock is ticking, the pressure is mounting, and Stephanie White, she's already on the wrong side of history. Let's know your thoughts in the comments. Was Clark right to change? Should White be fired? And who do you think step up and lead this team? The actual wins. Subscribe for more behind-the-scenes breakdowns, player meltdowns, and sports drama so spicy I need a warning label. What went down on at sideline wasn't as bad. Look, it was a full-on red alert. And while fans were still, wiping the disbelief of their faces, the deeper realization started to set in. This wasn't a fluke. Stephanie White didn't just have a bad night. This was when those classic coaching for we say, okay, she's usually solid, maybe the moment just got too big. No, this was something else entirely. This was the stomach, repetitive, predictable, and most importantly, it was avoidable. Because let's be real, we've seen this pattern before: questionable rotations, strained substitutions, static offense, misuse of talent, the kind of coaching that makes you scream at your TV like you're the one wearing headset. The only difference now, the whole world is watching, because when you got Caitlin Clark on your roster, the lights don't dim, they burn. And this time they burn bright enough to expose every crack. And Stephanie White game plan, let's talk about that. Post-game press conference. He felt attention. White stepped up to make still visibly flustered try and keep it together, but that edge in her voice still there. And when asked about the technical foul, she danced around it, blamed emotion, said she was fighting for her team. Cute, except no one bought it, because if you're really fighting for your team, you're keeping your head in the game, you're drawing up adjustments, not drawing tacks, you're figuring out how to free up Caitlin from double teams, not yelling at Raph like you're trying to get ejected for street grid. And Caitlin, she kept it classy, of course she did. She said all the right things: we need to be better, it's experience, blah blah blah. But look in her eyes during those interviews, and you can see it, that fire, that controlled seething frustration of someone who knows she could have and should have won that game if only the adult and chart had done their job. And it's worse. You could argue Clark was the most sure person on that court that night. Think about that. A 22-year-old rookie was a voice of reason. Our coach was having a sideline meltdown on live television. That's not just embarrassing, it a full-blown leadership failure. And of your front office, you have to feel the pressure now. The entire basketball world is looking at you like you're really going to let us go on, because Caitlin Clark is not just the player, she's a movement. She's filling seats, she's selling our jerseys, she's dragging the WNBA into living rooms that never care before you think she's a stick around for 3 seasons of mismanagement and playoff outbreak. Not a chance, not when she could be the centerpiece of a dynasty somewhere else now, when she could be headlining a franchise that knows how to maximize or game, not waste it. Let's be honest, the way the Fever playing right now, it's not just inefficient, it's disrespectful to the talent they've got. Aaliyah Boston, criminally underused, one most dominant post players and lead and they've got a running decoy plays half the night. KK Timpson energy off the bench, game changer potential, and she's watching most the game like she paid for a ticket. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is being run into ground play in extended minutes, getting double teamed constantly, and still try to initiate the off into our coach is out here tossing game plans. Confetti. It's not sustainable, is not smart, and it's definitely not championship material. And the fans, oh, they've turned. At first they were hopeful, excited, grateful, just to be relevant, but now their angry social media is flooded with clips of Clark trying to calm down. White fans are breaking down rotations, posting shot chart, analyzing every possession. The verdict is unanimous: this team has no identity. There's no offensive rhythm, no offensive integrity, no poise, just chaos and motion. And Caitlin Clark tried to hold all together with a headband and a prayer. You can ask that much from a rookie. You shouldn't. That's what the coach is for. But when the coach becomes the biggest liability on the floor, that's when things go from frustrating to dangerous. Because let's be real, this kind of dysfunction doesn't stay contained, it spreads fast. You think Leah Boston isn't feeling it. You think Kelsey Mitchell want to waste another prime year watching her team spiral because the coach can't figure out an inbound play. You think the rookies aren't already learning what now not to do from this environment. It's toxic, quietly, pervasively, undeniably toxic. And the worst part, this could have been fixed. Oh, White had to do with evolve, make smarter adjustments, take accountability, use her timeouts effectively, keep her cool, give our stars a space to shine, and her bench the minutes to develop. But instead she picked the worst time possible to double down on stubbornness. And in the playoff, when every possession matters, that kind of rigidity will sink you faster than any opponent ever could. This is why the pressure cooker, the postseason, is so revealing, because it's not just about talent. It's about temperament. Can you handle the moment? Can you lead under pressure? Can you inspire, not implode? Stephanie White just gave us her answer, and unfortunately it's not the one the Fever or Caitlin Clark needed. So here we are. The smoke is still rising from this disaster. The memes are flying. The media is circling like vultures, and Caitlin Clark, she's out here answering questions with more grace than anyone should have to muster. But we all know what she's thinking. I didn't come here to lose. I didn't come here to be man. It is like a distraction. I came here to build a legacy, and that doesn't happen with a coach who need babysitting in crunch time. So at the Fever one, protect their future, and they won't go around the brightest young star the league's seen in years. They need to make a move, not next season, now. Because every minute Caitlin Clark spends being dragged down by disorganization is a minute wasted. And this team, it doesn't have minutes to waste. They've got the roster, they've got the fans, they've got the attention of the world. What they don't have is time for another coaching catastrophe. So here's your final scoreboard, folks. Caitlin Clark, poised, professional, and powerful. Stephanie White, rattled, reactive, and replaceable. If this was an audition for who should lead to Fever into their next chapter, the decision has already been made. Now it's just a matter whether the front office has the courage to act on it. And if they don't, well, let's just say Caitlin Clark demanding change will be the least of their problems. Players glance toward the bench, confused, waiting for instruction that never comes. There's a breakdown incoming. Location, but everyone shrugs it off. Early season nerve. They say it'll get better. But it doesn't get better, it escalates. Roles are defined. Star players start hesitating. The often turns into is sober. The bench doesn't know when or if they're coming in. Practice has big, I'm quiet. Film sessions turn into finger pointing. The locker room fractures, not dramatically, but in small, irreversible ways. Trust slips through the cracks like sand through fingertips. And that's what we're seeing now, right in front of our eyes. This team doesn't trust its coach. You can see in their faces during timeouts, blank stares, arms crossed, players pulling into the side instead of looking to the bench. That's the sign of a team operating on survival mode, not strategy. And what's worse, they're wasting the best chance they've had in years. Because before Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever weren't exactly trending. Let's be honest, they were buried bottom of the league, forgotten. You could buy front row tickets for less than a parking pass. Relevance wasn't as fading, it was extinct. Then came Caitlin, the injection this franchise needed. Ratings soared, ticket sales exploded, national broadcast star. It's circling like sharks. Indiana was no longer the league's afterthought, it was the epicenter. And what did the Fever do with all that attention? They handed the keys to a coach who can even steer. You think fans are just going to keep showing up out of loyalty? No. This is a rebuilding year. This is a redefining year. People are watching now, not in 5 years, and what they're seeing is a franchise blessed with generational talent and completely unprepared to capitalize on it. This isn't about one loss, this is about to jack 3, because momentum in sports, it's everything, and when you have it, you do. Not fumble it, you build around it, you protect the like it's gold, because if you don't, it turns on you. And that feel-good Caitlin saves the WNBA narrative, it turns into Clark trapped in franchise chaos. And that is not the story Indiana want to be a part of. So let's talk solutions, because at this point you either evolve or you evaporate. Step 1, admit this isn't working. Forget loyalty, forget contracts, forget all that off-season PR fluff. If your coaches act we holding back development, your stars, and blowing up your team's rhythm during the most crucial stretch of the season, you are nothing but a polite thank you and a sturdy box or office supplies. Leadership means knowing when to cut the cord, and right now that cord is frayed. Step to handle reins as someone who actually knows how to harness superstar energy. This is an AAU ball. You're coaching Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell. That's a big 3 in the making. But you can't coach that trio like of the committee. You need hierarchy, playmaking, clarity, and a system built around real basketball IQ, not vibes and volume. Because here's the brutal truth. Talent alone won't save you. Caitlin Clark dropped 40 points and 12 assists every night. But if your rotations are trash, your players don't know their roles, and your timeout to just angry monologues, it won't matter. The team will still lose, the fans will still check out, the headlines will still turn cold. And what happens when a magic wears off? Because yeah, the hype machine is loud right now, but it's also fickle. Attention fades fast, and if this team doesn't start winning those sold-out arenas, they'll start looking real empty again fast. Step 3, build around your actual culture setters. If you know setting the tone on this team right now is not the coach, it's not the system, is the players. It's Caitlin stepping in into calm chaos. It's Aaliyah swallowing frustration and still doing dirty work in a pain. It's Kelsey scoring in bunches while trying to keep the locker room sane. These women are already leading despite the coaching, not because of it. Give them the structure they deserve. Bring in a coach who doesn't see them as puzzle pieces, best pillars, someone who can build with them, not on top of them. Because right now the trust is gone, and once that trust disappears, no clipboard can fix it. Let's also talk about the future, because if you're sitting in the Indiana front office thinking, well, we'll just reassess next season, guess what? Next season is already in danger. Caitlin Clark may be under contract, but her patience is not. She's young, yes, but she's savvy. She knows how short championship windows are. She knows the value legacy. She knows how fast narrative shift if the Fever can get together. There are plenty of other franchises would build entire empires around her franchises, with proven leadership, with vision, with coaches who don't melt down mid-game like they're on a reality show. And if Indiana loses, loser, it's over. No rebuild, no rebrand, just regret. You know how people say some loss is a bigger than others. This is that, because you can bounce back from a losing season. But losing the trustee, your cornerstone player, that's a death sentence. It takes years to recover, if you even can. So where do we go from here? We demand more. That's where more from leadership, more from the coaching staff, more from a franchise has been handed a rare gift and is treating it like a clearance item. Caitlin Clark deserves better. Aaliyah Boston deserve better. The fans deserve better. And if Stephanie White can be part of that better, then she has to go. No apologies, no second chances, to just action, because this isn't just about one game, it's about everything. That game revealed the fragility, the dysfunction, the frustration, and the fact that the only person wholly altogether is a 22-year-old rookie. We're more poised, and her entire coaching staff combined. So here's your final takeaway. The Fever on fire, but not the good kind, and if they don't extinguish his chaos quickly, the damage will be irreversible. Caitlin Clark has made it crystal clear she came here to win, not to babysit, not to babysit the bench, and certainly not a babysit the coach. This is a franchise defining more. Omit, and the question is, will Indiana rise or win a fumble? The most important draft pick in modern WNBA. A history lesson? No. In the comments, she's Stephanie Y. Be fired tonight. Who should take her place? And what would you do to fix the Fever? Subscribe for more meltdowns, misfires, and mid-game Madden.